Oh man, people saw my video about why Star Wars fans are boycotting Solo, and they're getting really mad in the comments, and they're saying that Alex Becker made all these great points. So I guess I should come on video and apologize because I'm not smart enough to make logical points to say why this whole boycott thing is stupid. What's up, Urban Acolyte Army? My name is Prince, and I'm an Urban Acolyte. So I took a look at Alex Becker's response, or Alex Becker's video on how boycotting Solo is going to save Star Wars, and the reason is because it'll get Kathleen Kennedy fired. And I went through all of his points, and I'm getting ready to say why I think all of those points are not going to lead to that desired outcome, and why I still think the boycott Solo thing is really kind of silly. Look, if you don't want to see the movie, just don't go see it. You don't need to announce it. Just don't go see it, right? But before I get into those points and debunking you guys who aren't thinking rationally, I just want to say that if you're new here, we talk about Star Wars, action, superhero movies, Marvel, DC, that kind of thing. And we talk about martial arts, not just martial arts movies, but also the martial arts, right? So every now and then you might see a video about Tai Chi, Wing Chun, that kind of thing, because Star Wars for me is something that I watched as a kid that got me interested in doing other things in the real world with my life, like studying martial arts and meditation and Eastern spirituality, and even getting deeper into Christian spirituality, which comes from the East, so technically Christianity is Eastern spirituality. Alex Becker is coming across saying, look, there's not a Disney problem going on, it's not a writing problem, it's a Kathleen Kennedy problem. So the whole problem with everything that Lucasfilm is doing, it's a problem with Kathleen Kennedy. And he says, look at what Marvel does. Star Wars should do the same. Look, do you guys think that Disney is going to Lucasfilm is going to take Star Wars in the Marvel direction? And now look, we've got to wrap up this original saga, and then we've got Dave and Dan working on projects. We've got Jon Favreau working on projects. We got the Rian Johnson new trilogy that's being planned out, right? So we've got all these other branches, these other Star Wars projects, live action shows, a new animated series from Dave Filoni, and it's kind of like, well, how do you know that this is not happening, right? You're focused on, well, what if, and this is what they're doing wrong, and you don't even know what's in the playbook. You're looking at the play that you're seeing right now, but you don't know that the plays that are going to be run after halftime, you don't know what plays are for the 2-minute drill, what they're going to be doing in the fourth quarter. All you know is what you see right now. So you really need to hold off, right? But according to Alex Becker, they're doing everything wrong. There's never going to be another good Star Wars movie until Kathleen Kennedy is fired. Good is subjective. I said that to Geekdom on Twitter when we were kind of going at it about The Last Jedi. I said, look, you say it's not good. I loved it. I'm not getting paid by Disney to say that. If you actually listen to what I talk about here, martial arts, meditation, Eastern spirituality, to me, that's what Star Wars is about. And The Last Jedi gave us all of that. It had a heavy Taoist message. And I keep saying, hey guys, I have 2 Taoist lineages. I'm screaming Taoism. And when I see a Star Wars message that has something, one, it inspired me to get into this, and then it continues to inspire me to keep going. Anyway, you say it's horrible management. It keeps coming down to that because Alex Becker doesn't like Kathleen Kennedy. That's what it really boils down to. You don't like Kathleen Kennedy. You said Marvel is the biggest franchise in the world. How did they get there? Well, Marvel didn't have an original saga to contend with. There weren't 30 years of Marvel movies that, hey, what's happening with Luke Skywalker and the extended universe? Look, when you start something new and there's already been something, because you said, look, they're ruining, this is a point you made later, you said they're ruining the foundation. Well, that's the problem. Star Wars had a foundation, and we said, look, some of this material, we got to figure out what we're going to do with this. The extended universe, the Legends canon, some of this stuff is all over the place, and it doesn't line up with how George said the Force works. It doesn't line up with anything, right? So a point that Alex made about, and yes, this is a flaw with the sequel sagas. They didn't go in with it all planned out. They handed, it's almost like a campsite story, right? I tell my part, you tell your part, they tell their part. That's it, right? That I will give people that criticism of the sequel saga, right? Is that there wasn't a plan for how this thing is going to play out going in. And that's why I said, look, I'm worried when Colin Trevorrow was handling episode 9, I said, I'm afraid he's going to mess it up, right? I don't know anything about this dude. I don't have a lot of faith in him, right? I've said that. Princes of Disney shill. Go listen to my fucking criticisms and actually pay attention, right? But my point is, how do you know, I said this already, how do you know Star Wars isn't moving towards a Marvel model? Because we know there's going to be these other projects by other people. You said they wasted the opportunity to show Han, Leia, and Luke in a meaningful way. Well, maybe, maybe they did. Maybe they did, but I'm not really that upset or broken about it. Some people are, and I don't know. I say some of you people who have an issue with that, you need to get into a meditation habit. You're attached to something, it didn't happen, so move on. They didn't get all three, the big three, on screen together, and that's it. But you know what? If we're writing a story based on real life, Han comes into the picture, he reunites with Leia, and then he gets killed. I mean, in real life, you don't get everything you want, right? And, this is Star Wars. Y'all like to take the wars out of Star Wars, right? He died. He went out like a G. He tried to bring his son back to the light. It didn't work, and his death had meaning. And his character role, he was the Obi-Wan Kenobi of The Force Awakens, just like there was an Obi-Wan Kenobi, the wise person who introduces the young heroes to the deeper mysteries. He introduced the Force to Rey and Finn. He allowed Finn to step up. He provided these opportunities for both of them to step up and take their first steps into a deeper world, right? A bigger world, right? And that was what Han did. And then we learn, he made some sacrifice. He gets killed by Kylo Ren. And that also allows Kylo Ren to take a step into a bigger world of exploring the dark side, of becoming more powerful with the dark side. So Han's death had meaning for Finn, for Rey, and for Kylo Ren, who were, and maybe even Poe Dameron, right? Because Poe was supposed to die, but now, who's the hot shot pilot? Who's got to handle all the flight stuff? Poe has to now, right? Because Han's not around to be the best pilot and whatever else, right? So Han's death had meaning. He's dead. We got to move on. And we got this Solo movie that I see as an homage. This is a eulogy to Han's death in The Force Awakens, right? So you're upset that Han died, that was killed in The Force Awakens, and now they're eulogizing him with this movie. And I'm upset about Han Solo. I'm so upset I'm not going to go to his funeral. I'm not going to go to his eulogy. I don't care. Fuck you, Star Wars. Fuck you, Kathleen Kennedy. You killed him, right? You guys sound like toddlers, man. It's like if you can't have it both ways. Han's gone. This movie is his eulogy. This is his funeral. This is for us to say we miss Han. Let's go see how Han became Han. Nope, not gonna see it because I'm so mad that they did this. They mishandled Han's story, mishandled Luke's story, which is dumb, right? You said they destroyed Luke Skywalker's character and sent off Mark Hamill, but Mark Hamill hasn't shaved his beard. Luke faded away, became one with the Force, and he's probably going to be in episode 9 as a Force ghost, and we have Force abilities that haven't even been explored yet. So, one of the ideas for Luke was that he was going to be so powerful with the Force that things were going to levitate around him. Everywhere he went, stuff would just be levitating, right? That was a fan rumor that was out, and that was actually true. That was going to be when we see Luke Skywalker, but then it's like, wait a minute, Luke shut himself off to the Force. People can't sense him. Part of that was so he couldn't be found, but he was mourning, he was upset, and what did I say last year? Luke reached this state of boredom, of ennui, where he was just like, look, it doesn't, and it comes from there's a Taoist story that I got from Alan Watts that I always say, Google a horse named Maybe, or the farmer and the horse Maybe story by Alan Watts. If you haven't heard me say it in another video, every time I talk about this topic of Luke being this kind of this Zen or Taoist hermit, right, in The Last Jedi. You said it throughout everything Star Wars is about. The basic rules of the universe, the basic story plots. It ruined the unity of fans. And Kathleen Kennedy has no interest in using the things that Star Wars is built upon. Alex, this is the weakest point that you made. I'm going to question if you actually know what Star Wars is about. Joseph Campbell's The Hero with a Thousand Faces. Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey. It's Star Wars Celebration weekend last year. Every project they talked about, whether it was Iden Versio in the Battlefront video game, The Last Jedi, all these new projects and books, they always return to, we're returning back to original storytelling, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. The hero's journey, Rey's hero's journey, Finn's hero's journey, Kylo Ren's hero's journey. That's what Star Wars is about. George Lucas wanted to create a modern myth, but it was a response to Vietnam, his concerns with the Nixon administration, that America was going to become the evil empire. But if you read a book like The World According to Star Wars, or there's another book, it's like Everything About Star Wars or something, these books that get into that deeper stuff, you'll find out, oh shit, Star Wars is heavily political, man. I didn't even realize that this is what they were talking about. Heavily political. The Empire Strikes Back is straight Zen and Taoism, Taoist teachings. We have the enlightened version of Yoda that you compare and contrast with the Yoda of the prequels, who they were all about science and rules and tradition and ritual, and they were stuck in these ways to the point that they were blinded to what was going on with the Force and misled by a Sith Lord, right? So I'm just trying to figure out, like, how have they gotten away from what Star Wars is about? If anything, is returning to what Star Wars is about, returning to the source, right? But you said there's bigoted social agendas. I just talked about, there needs to be less white guys in Star Wars. And this is where I have a gripe about. There aren't actually less white guys in Star Wars. There aren't actually less white people in Star Wars. Look at what we have. Rey, Kylo Ren, Luke Skywalker, Leia. Unless you're an alien like Snoke or Maz Kanata, the only people who can use the Force are white. Look at the Broom Boy. He's white, right? If I say, hey, I think Finn should be Force sensitive, I think Rose should be Force sensitive, I'm the one pushing equality, right? How come the only people who can use the Force right now are white, right? The majority of the characters, like when you see it and you're white and there's like the one black guy, the one, person in the background, the Asian person with the First Order. Oh, look, it's diversity. It's a person of color. Right? And I'm not saying, hey, there needs to be a Star Wars Black Panther movie. They need to go to Wakanda, right? Let's go to the Wakanda system and everybody's black. I'm not saying that, but I'm really saying, look, they're talking about we're pushing for more diversity in Star Wars, but when you listen to these SJWs and feminists, they're saying, no, there really is not more diversity in Star Wars. You've finally got one assistant woman director working with J.J. Abrams, but there aren't any women writing Star Wars outside of novels. E.K. Johnson, Delilah Dawson, and my boo, oh man, I forgot my boo's name. She wrote Lost Stars in the Leia novel, right? The only women writing Star Wars are writing books. There aren't any women writing screenplays and TV shows, animated series, none of the movies, there aren't any people of color as directors. So no, it's all white dudes, right? And so, yeah, like Ryan Johnson said, there needs to be less white guys in Star Wars, but he's a white guy and he's getting a check. So where's your point? We all have different points of view. And what did Obi-Wan say? Like, you'll find that the truths you cling to depend greatly on your own point of view, right? You have a different point of view than me. A black woman is going to have a different point of view than me as a black man. An Asian woman is going to have a different point of view from all of us, right? And an Arab person is going to have a different, they're going to be like, look, there's no Arabs in Star Wars at all that I can think of off the top of my head, right? So, maybe a Latina, she might say, I want Latina women in Star Wars. I want to see a Latina Jedi, representation matters. Star Wars representation matters. People want to see themselves represented on screen. So all we're saying is, yeah, they're saying, yeah, we want more diversity, but it's like, yo, we haven't seen it yet. And my thing is, to the people who are saying representation matters, yeah, it has been talked about. We know Jon Favreau, Dan and Dave, Rian Johnson. That's already set. But we don't know who they're talking about putting into those projects. So, we need to wait too. But we can still say, hey, Kathy, you talking about women directors and diversity, and what about the people at the top? What about the people making the decisions on these projects, right? And y'all are talking about, it's the SJW feminist agenda. I'm not seeing a feminist agenda. Just because Rey is a Mary Sue because the Force is balancing her with Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren becomes more powerful. Rey has to become more powerful. So actually, Kylo Ren is a Gary Stu, right? He's the Jedi killer. He's the one that wiped out all the Jedi. He killed Snoke. He's the supreme leader of the galaxy, but everybody's focused on Rey, and it's like, what about Kylo Ren over here? And Rey can only do these things because of Kylo Ren. And like I said, we keep talking about diversity, but it's not diverse. And Rey is actually not the center of the story. Yes, it's a coming-of-age story about a woman, but the woman's only coming of age and becoming powerful as a response to this Skywalker shit, right? So the story is still about the Skywalkers, and without Anakin and his grandson and Luke and Leia, Rey would be a non-factor. She might not even been born. She might not even have the Force, right? Rey is a response to Kylo Ren. And without Kylo Ren, there is no Rey. Rey can't be powerful without Kylo Ren being powerful. Darkness rises and light to meet it. All right? So, your points really, they're not standing, dog. And then you said your number one reason for why boycotting Solo and getting Kathleen Kennedy fired is the way to go is because they're ignoring fans, right? That's totally subjective, man. How can you listen to the fans? Which fans are you listening to? If you listen to one group of fans, you're not listening to another group of fans. This is an idiotic idea, Alex. Who doesn't make a movie for their own self? I've got friends who made movies, right? And when they make movies for someone else, they end up sucking. Some of you know that I'm friends with Ben Ramsey. You credit him as the man who ruined the Dragon Ball movie, Dragon Ball Evolution, right? And Ben wrote this apology and said, look, I'm really sorry about how the movie turned out. And if you know the full story, that thing that we saw on the screen that came to the live screen was not what Ben Ramsey wrote. He wrote something else and it got changed, and he was like, well, they gave me my $500,000. I'm done. Y'all can do whatever the hell you want to do, right? But Ben wrote a script for a Luke Cage movie a long time ago that you might not know, and it was a passion project. And I don't know what happened with it, but it might have been really good because he was writing it from the heart, right? Now, if you listen to fans, well, you got to do this and you got to do that, and then hell, how can I write that? If I'm writing it with you in mind and I'm not writing it from my heart? You're making it for the fans. How can you make something for the fans? Look, remember when Disney bought Lucasfilm and they said, we're making new movies? And I've always been into the Star Wars, the George Lucas canon. I never got into Legends. I played a couple of video games, the Old Republic. That's it. That's where I stopped. I was like, I watched the movies. I played Old Republic. I know about Revan. That's it. That's where my Star Wars knowledge stops. And that's the same even now. I'm not trying to be my friend Alex at Star Wars Explained. I'm not trying to win Star Wars trivia stuff. So my friends who are heavily invested in the Star Wars, have been for years, are like, oh, they should do Heir to the Empire and Thrawn. And I started buying the books because I'm like, I know Thrawn is a blue dude and I know a little bit about him, but and then I started thinking, wait a minute, y'all have been reading these books for 20 something years. And if they make those movies, people are going to complain about they didn't get it right. They didn't do this right. They didn't do that. And it's like, why the hell do I need to go see the movie if I could just read the book and know what's going to happen? What's the point of seeing the movie, right? And fans want that. Fans want legends. They want to see fans. What have I said? Why I don't want to see Bastila and Revan, the Old Republic, right? Because we've already played the fucking games, right? And if they miss one thing, one line, one planet is changed, one detail is not there that BioWare put in their game, people are going to rant, they're going to complain. So how do you appease the fans when the fans don't even know what the hell they want? There aren't fans, there are pockets of fans. We understand that Anakin's the chosen one, but then there's some people who don't think Anakin's the chosen one. There's people who read everything in Legends, people who don't give a shit about Legends, people who are just now coming into Star Wars and are only interested in this new stuff, people who only care about Rey, right? So how do you appease fans when there aren't fans? There are pockets of fandoms within Star Wars, the Star Wars fandom. All these people are interested in different things, right? I got people who only care about Finn and watch me because I'm the only person that gives Finn justice. And they stop watching because Finn didn't pick up a lightsaber or force push Phasma into off Snoke's ship, right? So I don't know, man. I'm going to end here. You said if your favorite restaurant changes management and the management has a philosophical view that causes them to radically change their menu, you have a choice to leave. That restaurant is going to market their services to people who share that philosophical view. If Lucasfilm chooses to tell stories that don't match up with your philosophical view, you can simply find something else. Some people will share that view and they will continue to support it. I like the direction that Star Wars is going in if they stick to this. If they continue to expound on the mysteries of the Force. Solo isn't going to do that. But what if I said this Han Solo movie could open up opportunities for stories that are coming later where I can see things that I actually want to see? So I support this because I'm saying, hey, later on down the line, things might come that I might want to see. Maybe Pablo, I am Facebook friends and on LinkedIn with some people who work at Lucasfilm. I don't know if they watch my videos, but maybe one of them says, hey man, that Prince Bell guy's got a great idea. Let's work with that, right? I'm going to leave with this. The only way to get a version of Star Wars that cares about the fans is to get creative people to pitch projects that the fans want to see. If you really want a version of Star Wars that lines up with what you want to see, you need to go get creative. Like I've said, it's easy to complain about a problem. It's harder to come up with a solution. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and take your first steps towards becoming an urban acolyte. Embark on the journey of becoming the hero of your own story and become a force for change in your community. Continue to support the channel. You can do that by checking out more videos on this channel. And you can also help by sharing this video with all of your friends who, would make a great member of the Urban Acolyte Army. Anyway, that's all I got for this one. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Y'all keep on breathing. And may the force of others be with you always.